LATD Nation, welcome back to the channel. Of course, we're the one and only. And that's how we're going to leave it.
Yes, sir.
So today we're going to be looking at...
Understood don't have to be said, but hey, you go ahead and talk your shit real quick.
Yes, sir. So today we're going to be looking at the details of Devil May Cry, a.k.a. DMC. You know what I'm saying? So Devil May Cry is a video game created by Capcom.
Yes. The very first entry came out in 2001. Long time ago. 24 years ago? That's actually crazy. I was 2 years old at the time. And a lot of people don't seem to know now, Devil May Cry was originally in development, supposed to be Resident Evil 4. But the game ended up being so different from Resident Evil that it just became its own thing, and thankfully so. Because I'm a fan of both. I'm a casual Resident Evil fan, but Devil May Cry is easily, to this day, in my top 10 favorite video game franchises of all time.
Oh, yeah, same here.
3 is one of my favorite games ever. It's top 10. It's one of my favorite stories of all time. I feel like that is the pinnacle of the franchise all the way back in 2005. So 20 years ago. Hard to believe.
Golly.
And I think the thing about Devil May Cry is that it's managed to endure for so long, despite being from way back in the day. We're talking about the PS2 era, like early PS2. It's crazy to think that in 2025, and really I looked at this as I was watching it, the main thing I took away from this adaptation, this Netflix adaptation, I'm just thankful that in 2025 we're still getting new Devil May Cry content. We're still getting vested interest in content from the series because it's been around for so long, and at one point it was dormant. Between 4 and 5, other than DMC Devil May Cry, which a lot of fans don't really count, the main franchise had been dormant for 11 years, and then it came back with 5, and I played that game to death when it came out. It came back with 5, and it managed to become the best-selling game in the franchise. One of the most critically acclaimed entries, both in terms of fan reception and actual, critical reviews. Most people seem to really love Devil May Cry 5, me included. I love it. It did a really good job of bringing the series back to what... It did a good job of bringing the series back to its former glory.
I agree.
After DMC, Devil May Cry, it was kind of in a rocky spot for a little bit. So I think Capcom understood the assignment, and they just pretty much said, let's pretty much just give fans everything that they want in a Devil May Cry game. Let's give them Virgil. Let's give them Lady and Trish. Let's give them Dante and Nero. Nero kind of grew up a little bit between entries. Overall, it's a great game, and since then, we haven't heard any word on a new Devil May Cry game, but hey, at least for right now, we got a new Devil May Cry series. So I'm gonna go ahead and let you get your first initial thoughts off on what you thought of it.
So I'll put it like this: a brief history of Devil May Cry, in game that is. It stars a character named Dante, who we all know is the son of a demon knight named Sparta, who switches to the good side and everything, and he finds finds a wife named
Eva.
Thank you. Named Eva, who is Dante's mom. So they grow up. Sparta fights Mundus, yada yada yada.
And then he also has a twin brother named Virgil.
Exactly, who we'll get to in a little bit, which is my personal favorite character of all time. So Dante runs a devil hunting business called Devil May Cry. He's a mercenary, but he's more of your laid back, kind of like rough exterior, listen to a whole bunch of heavy metal rap and all this, that, and the third, and eats pizza. While Virgil, on the other hand, is the more sophisticated, loves poetry. It's very much like that clean slate. So that's the biggest thing I love between those two characters.
They're not to cut you off.
No, you good.
They're pretty much polar opposites. One is very one is very DIY, kind of making it up as they go along, very casual, go with the flow, both in how he fights and in terms of his personality. The other is very much more reserved, less talkative, has no measurable sense of humor as far as I've ever seen.
Exactly.
And it's just overall very serious. And the thing that made these two great in terms of their contrasting personalities, one stands on one side of the fence and one stands on the other. In 3, Dante, he rejects his human side, or he rejects his demon side.
Right.
And Virgil, on the other hand, rejects his human side and embraces his demon side. And one of the best things about 3 is that it kind of shows Dante evolve to gradually accept both sides of his heritage, which eventually gives him the edge in defeating Virgil in their last fight, because they fight 3 times in the game. In the first fight, Dante loses. Second fight, they fight to a stalemate. Third, Dante overpowers Virgil because he accepted both sides of himself. Right. So I always love the messaging and the themes behind Devil May Cry. It's never been the most, complex, most morally ambiguous story ever, but it definitely does have a narrative that is very well done and suits kind of the way that they sort of present it, because Devil May Cry is never meant to be taken that serious.
Right. But one thing I will say that I liked about Virgil's character is the fact that he's not your simple megalomaniacal villain who just wants power for the sake of power. But I think it's deeper than that. Like, he wants power in order to compensate the fact that he couldn't save his mom back in the day.
I completely agree.
And that's why I love Virgil so much as a character.
Exactly.
But my thoughts on the show itself, I thought it was really good.
Yeah.
I thought it was surprisingly really good, because my biggest worry with it is that it would be too dependent on their on a bunch of cameos from the 3 games, other 4 games. So, for example, or 5 games. So, for example, Agni and Rudra are 2 characters in Devil May Cry 3. They're both red and blue demons.
Legendary weapons in the Devil May Cry, I guess, canon lore.
Exactly. They show up here. Another character who's like a plant serpent type character. She shows up she's from Devil May Cry 4. But
yeah, that's right, she was.
But and same thing with Cavalier Angelo from Devil May Cry 5. So villains from 3, 4, and 5 who people love the most. So I thought they were going to be just one-off characters, but no, they ended up serving the story really, really well. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I enjoyed it the most, really. And also the plot. I like that the plot wasn't just simple hack and slash. This guy's the bad guy. This guy's the good guy type shit. There's more complexity to it. For example, the White Rabbit, he's a character that's very, very complex in his own way. On top of that, the demon world isn't even just straight up hell. I mean, it is, but it's more than that.
It's got a little bit more complexity and more layering to it than what we've seen portrayed in any Devil May Cry game, including 5, because, spoilers if you haven't played 5. At the end, Dante and Virgil, they go to the demon world and they're pretty much trapped there. And from what we see, it's just a wasteland of never-ending fighting, demons constantly trying to kill you, whatever the case may be. But in this one, you kind of see more of a different angle and a different approach to the demon world, in the sense that you got demons that are good and demons that are bad, which I like that because it kind of ties in to the theme of 3, especially with Lady, because in 3, Lady looked at all demons, all types of that kind, as being evil, monstrous, no soul, no heart. But then through meeting Dante, she gradually grows to understand that demons are capable of the same feelings and the same thoughts and emotions as a human.
Exactly.
And that's kind of how the name Devil May Cry came about, because Dante cried for the fact that he couldn't save his brother.
Exactly.
And that's what made her understand, because initially she hates demons for the fact that her father Arkham was obsessed with demons, killed her mother, and went
after he became one.
Yeah, he killed her mother.
Spoiler alert, by the way.
I mean, this game is 20 years old, so you ain't played it, man. It is what it is.
True.
But yeah, no, I like how certain themes and ideas that were present throughout Devil May Cry as a franchise are in here, but it's done in a different way. It's kind of presented in its own unique way. What I will say, Dante, in terms of his character, is 1 for 1. This is Dante 100% as he's portrayed in the games. They didn't try to alter his personality. One thing I really love in this adaptation with Dante, he's never really serious throughout the whole thing, which keeps very much in tow, because Dante has never really been that serious. He's always been very cocky. He's been very showboaty, but he has a good heart.
Right.
He's always been shown to have a very genuine heart as an individual. He's a caring person.
Exactly. And the same with the contrast with Virgil in this one. He shows up at like the very end. But when he
seems to be very similar to how he is in the games.
Yeah, but one subtle thing that I do like from the games is the fact that he aligns more with the Makaians, or AKA the demons. In this one, when he says that, I forgot exactly what he said, but he said something along the lines of, I decided to protect the Makaians and this, that, and third. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and
I'm sorry. Go ahead and then really tying in the fact that he's more for his demon heritage rather than his human, in more ways than just power. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. And again, that's what I like about it is that they brought the spirit of these characters in this world, in this lore, in a different form. Because Dante is very much still the same. Lady's very similar to how she is in 3.
But the only difference is she's a cop in this one, which I did like.
She's like a soldier. She's like a military personnel type individual, which, I mean, it is a different change of pace from what we've seen Lady portrayed as in Devil May Cry, but still her more sort of hardened, sort of militant sort of attitude is reflected in it, so I wasn't too mad at that. Same thing with Virgil. All the characters are brought in a way that feels authentic to Devil May Cry.
Oh yeah, most. And
I can say the same thing as far as not just the action, but I could also say in terms of the overall vibe. It feels like Devil May Cry, even though the story, I feel like the story definitely takes the most from 3 in terms of how it's set up, in terms of certain revelations, the characters that are present, because it was Lady before Trish. Lady was Dante's first friend. So It makes sense that Lady kind of kickstarted this series. And I like how they took these characters and these ideas and they kind of rearranged everything. They kind of changed how things were done in the games, but it still works for what it is. It kind of reminds me of how The Last of Us, which we will be reviewing season 2 very soon, is coming out this Sunday. Can't wait. It reminds me of how with Last of Us season 1, it wasn't exactly a 1-for-1 remake and recreation of the plot in the first one, but it still has the same basic idea. It has the same story beats. It has the same characters. They're the same kind of way as they are in the games. And I don't mind that. I like when they take liberties with it as long as the spirit is true to what the source material is. And I think that they executed with this.
I 100% agree. Now, the White Rabbit as a choice for the villain, I actually liked him a lot.
I do too.
Surprisingly, when I first saw him, I'm like, okay, this dude is just another demon guy. Okay. All right. Standard villain. But when they got to episode 6, I believe, when they started going through him and Trish's like compare and contrast. Thank you. So when they go him and Ladies compare and contrast, and the whole like why they're enemies the way they are and their whole backstories, I'm like, okay, I kind of like this because it just shows that he's not just a villain for the sake of being a villain.
Yeah, I like that he wasn't kind of just a throwaway villain, because I kind of feel like they could have easily did that. I like that they fleshed him out and they kind of added some mystery to who he was and why he became what he became. I like that they reveal, you know what? We'll save it because you got some people that probably ain't watched it, so no spoilers or anything. But
yeah, that's what I meant by a spoiler alert early. But
I'll put a bit of a twist as to like his character. He kind of goes in a direction you don't expect.
Exactly, and my thing is he's very reminiscent of like Sensui from Yu Yu Hakusho, which I'm watching right now, and he's also very reminiscent of General Zod from Man of Steel. Because General, I don't want to. This might give you a hint, but you know how General Zod's plan was to essentially make Earth Krypton. It's kind of the same case. It's the same case here. So
yeah, I can see that comparison.
So it's like there you go. Those are pretty much my two comparisons. And it's like, and I thought he was really engaging later on down the line. Because at first, like I said, I thought it was just going to be a regular villain. But another thing that I did love about this is Enzo. The only gripe with Enzo in this show, I'll keep saying game, like is the fact that I wish we would have saw more of him.
Because he was kind of just sort of the lighthearted sidekick, kind of like mentor, sort of father figure to Dante, which I did like that because their relationship, it's implied, not even implied, it's directly stated that they've been in business together for a while. They've known each other for a while. Right. And he kind of even calls Dante the son that he never had. And I wish that we could have gotten a little bit more development to that, because Enzo as a character, I don't know how everybody feels about him, but I personally liked him.
Yeah,
I liked his role. He didn't come off as too annoying. A lot of what he says and the humor that he adds does work for me. I just wish that we could have gotten a little bit more from him. But, I mean, overall, the plot, the characters that are introduced, because, of course, you're going to have original characters. I think that they did a good job. It's not exactly, maybe one gripe for me, and this could be just me, my bias as a fan. Me personally, I probably would have preferred it to be an adaptation of Devil May Cry 3. Me personally, but at the same time, I understand that they kind of wanted to bring new fans and they wanted to bring different types of audiences in. So I understand why they took some liberties here and there. For me, it worked.
Yeah, no, it definitely
it's not a deal breaker at all. It's just maybe that's my one gripe as a fan. You know, I being such a huge fan of 3, I kind of wanted to see them, since they have these characters, I kind of wanted them to sort of do what they did in the games. But at the same time, I understand why, because they didn't want to just do the same thing.
Right, I agree. For me, I would give this like an 8 out of 10. I didn't love it enough for it to be a 10. And for me,
I would probably agree with that score. I'd say an 8.
Yeah, because my biggest gripe with it was that the pacing was a tad bit off.
Yeah, I agree.
They introduced a couple characters,
especially as it goes along.
The pacing was just very off. It was the pacing was very reminiscent of Spider-Man Miles Morales, because it was like they introduced a character here, we end up falling in love with the character, but then kills him off right in the next episode. Like, we didn't get enough time to really care about these characters in some cases.
And I guess that could be considered a shortcoming of the fact that it's only 8 episodes. Maybe
it could have used 10
or even 12.
It could have definitely used 10 or 12, because my thing is, I would have rather these characters, if you're going to treat them like fodder, then let them just be nameless fodder. You know what I'm saying? Don't give these people like names and like individuality just to kill them off next episode.
Yeah, I could definitely agree with that. Maybe that some of these characters, because it's it's very fast paced. It's very fast paced. It's very fast.
Like the games are.
I was about to say reminiscent of how the games are, because 3, everybody knows that takes place in the course of one night. Pretty much every game takes place. Well, not 5. 5 takes place over the course of like a month. A month? Yeah, about a month.
Because
it starts in May and then it ends in June, and they kind of like go back and forth between timelines.
Yeah, to show everybody else's perspective.
But generally, most Devil May Cry games all kind of take place in rapid succession, in the sense that, like I said, 3 that takes place all over the course of one night. It's in one area. It's only a select couple of characters. It's like only 4 characters in Devil May Cry 4 or in Devil May Cry 3. Really? Dante, Lady, Virgil, and Arkham. That's all you see. You don't see any other characters in there. And I think that made it very effective for the story they were telling there. But with this, I understand bringing in a lot of characters because you want to have a broad appeal. But maybe it would have been good to have like 10 to 12 episodes just to flesh out some of these people, because it feels like they kind of build something interesting, but they don't go as full and as in depth as they could have potentially.
You're right. I 100% agree with that too.
They feel like they kind of get killed as soon as they're introduced.
Exactly.
Like you said.
Exactly. And yeah, other than that, I still loved it. I enjoyed it. I liked it. I love the story. I love the action in it, most definitely. It's very fast paced, just like the games are with the action. Choreography was cool. Character voice acting was phenomenal.
Was top notch, yeah.
Like, I didn't even, like Rodney mentioned this, I didn't even realize that the voice of Nero was the voice of Dante the whole time. And
exactly.
You really couldn't tell.
I really like that too, because Johnny Young Bosch, that's the name. You may recognize him. He also plays Ichigo in the Bleach dub. Goated in that as well. Yeah, Johnny Young Bosch as Nero. Nero is a little bit more hot-headed, a little bit more aggressive, but a lot more self-serious than Dante. So it was kind of cool seeing him do his version, his interpretation of Dante as more jokey, kind of more lighthearted, more serious. Because, like I said, Dante is more the lighthearted, less serious. Virgil is more the entirely serious. And I would say Nero is a mixture of the two in terms of their personality because
I agree.
Nero has the showboat and cockiness aspect of Dante's personality, but he's more self-serious and he's a little bit more aggressive and he's a little bit more kind of willing to get in people's face. Dante never really trips on nothing. Like Nero's a little bit more, if somebody says something or does something he don't like, he's going to voice it.
Right. I 100% agree. I 100% agree, man. But with that being said, I will say this last thing. This could have easily been like DMC Devil May Cry.
Yeah.
This could very much could have been. That was my worry with this game as far as the cameos and stuff are concerned.
But I think that they knew that's not what fans wanted to see.
Because one thing I'll say about the games as a whole, as much as many ups and downs as they are, they always manage to kind of like give the fans what they want at the end of the day. For as many lows as it was with 2 and then DMC, they risen back with 4 and then 5 and then 3 with 3, 4, and 5.
Yeah, they've always managed the course correct. They've always managed to get back. It's kind of like, I guess a good comparison would sort of be the X-Men film franchise, which we just recently talked about that. For as many highs as they got a couple of lows here and there.
Yeah, but they didn't. But they
never missed that bad though.
But But I don't think they never really ended off with a high. I would say Devil May Cry ended off with a high with 5.
I mean,
get it? High 5?
I don't think that Devil May Cry as a video game franchise is over though.
Oh, I don't think so
think
either.
that they're gauging interest for a 6th title with this. And from what I see, is very successful both critically and in terms of like Netflix viewership. It was like in the top 10 or something like that.
It's number 3.
So for me personally, I think that they know people want 6. Boy, I want 6 bad.
Yeah, I want 6.
I want 6 bad.
I just hope they don't try to do like a whole, play on the 6. With being about Devil May Cry type stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure.
If you know, you know. But anyway, with that being said, man, I've been Jay.
And this has been Rodney.
And we are LATD. Remember, everybody, to look at the details. Peace.